Welcome to Fit to Thrive. We're going to be looking at a new position now for our mobility flow, which is called the ape position. So last time we looked at the bridge position, but this time I want to look at the ape position, which is basically going to be more challenging and going to open out the hips, work on your plantar flexion, which is your toe pointing towards your own shin. We want to get that flexibility often suffers in people and stops them getting low into squats. This is going to help with loads of stuff, whether you're weightlifting, whether you're playing sports, your jiu-jitsu. This is a position that you want to try and get comfortable in and try and spend some time in. And then the beauty of it, when you get into this position and you're doing your flow movements, you can be in these real nice low seated positions as well as on your hands and on your feet as well. Okay, so cool, let's get started. So first of all, we're just going to do a couple of warm-ups, recap over those, really important because we spend a lot of time through our arms, especially with weight into our arms. Then we want to make sure that we're looking after our shoulders, basically our joints, and keeping the muscles in the forearms, biceps, triceps, and all the rest of it nice and loose. Okay, so let's start with our warm-up. So first of all we want to do is we want to just warm up the wrists. So we're going to just start by circling the wrists. We're going to do some nice circles, big circles, and sort of build that range of movement. Shouldn't be uncomfortable, but you want to certainly be going to your range of movement. I'm just going to go the other way. Nice circles with the hands. Fantastic. You're going to just bring your fingers together and interlace them. Drop your elbows, and I just want you to rotate the hands together in a nice circle as well. Working through. And then go the other direction. Now, by all means, obviously for the video, I'm not laboring too long on these warm-ups. This is more just to get you warmed up. You can spend more time yourself as you do when you're doing these if you feel like you need to. That's absolutely cool. Okay, I'm just going to do these wave movements. So basically the elbow goes high and then low. We're just working through the flexibility in the wrists again. Nice and high. And then we're going to go the other way. Again, you should be just going to your range of movement and maybe slightly beyond, but certainly not painful, certainly not what you're feeling clicking and grinding and it's all uncomfortable. But this is just a warm-up. Fantastic. So we've worked on mobility. Now we're going to just do some light stretches through the forearms. So look, what we're looking to do now is we're looking to place the fingertips on the floor with your palms facing away from yourself. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to lean forwards and we're going to try and put some weight through the palms of our hands. If you can't get your palms flat on the floor, that's fine. You should just be feeling a stretch through the forearms, maybe through the backs of the through the palms of the hands and through the fingers. Again, just go to where's comfortable for you, but you should be feeling some level of stretch. If that's easy for you, you can just start keeping your palms obviously in the heels of your hands on the floor, and your arms straight, start to move your weight backwards, and you can just feel that stretch extra into the forearms. And all I want you to do now is just move forwards and move backwards, really slowly, really gently. Remember to breathe. So we're nice and relaxed. Keep your head in a neutral position. That means it's just in line with the spine. Forwards, backwards. Just to get those forearms nicely loose, nicely ready for the exercise. Awesome, so we've done that side. We're just going to bring that slowly back up. Again, just feel free at any point just to stop, shake out, and you can just go back through these mobility movements if you just feel stiffness through it. And at any point during your flow, you can come back to those wrist mobility exercises. Cool, so let's work on the other side now. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to try and place the backs of our hands with our palm facing to the ceiling, down on the floor in front of us. And as we do that, I want you to also have your fingers pointing in towards each other. So my hands are basically shoulder width apart. My fingers point towards each other and my backs of my hands are on the floor. And again, you might not be able to get that. You might be able to just get them slightly down. Again, go to your level. Don't force any of this stuff. Nothing should be forced. It should just be, pushing just beyond that comfort level. So you're just getting into that extra little bit of range of movement. Again, this time you can bring your weight forwards a little bit whilst trying to keep your arms straight. to get that extra stretch. Just breathing, and again, you can drop your weight forwards and backwards to take that strain away and bring it back in, breathing and relaxing. Then you can turn the palms, the fingers to point back towards yourself as well. So you can now keep your arms straight. Fingers are now pointing back towards myself, trying to relax my shoulders, and again, just get that gentle stretch there. You can kind of play around with all these positions then. Fingers facing towards, fingers facing away. All these different positions, just playing around to just loosen them up. Find the areas that feel a little bit stiffer for you. Just muck about now you've done your gentle stretches. Just finding the areas that you feel like you want to spend a few more seconds on. And then when you're done, you just can come back to your seated position. Excellent, okay. So we're just going to work on just loosening off the shoulders a little bit now. So what we're going to do is, from our first mobility flow where we learn about the 4-point position where we're basically on our hands and on our toes, you're going to be in that position but with your knees down. You're going to keep your arms nice and straight, locked straight, and all we want to do now is we want to try and rotate our shoulders, keeping our arms straight. So we're going to we do that by lifting our shoulders, sort of dropping our chest down. So we're almost like we're pulling our scapula together, or we are pulling our shoulder blades together, and then circling, and then coming back up to the point where you get to your peak, where you're rounding your back and you're pushing your shoulder blades apart now. So they're separating as we go back down, round and back up. So we're just looking at working on the mobility of the shoulders, moving the shoulder blades, loosening off the upper back and through the shoulder joints. So just play around up and down, pulling the scapula together, separating the scapula, seeing if you can get a bit of a circle, and again, all the time keeping the head in a neutral position just to warm up that lower back. And you should, after a while, feel a little bit of heat, maybe a little bit of warmth between the shoulder blades as we're activating those muscles, the rhomboids, we're working trapezius, a few different muscles in that area. Awesome, and then sit back. We're going to go into what's called a child's pose, which is like a yoga position. So we're just basically palms stretched forwards. Now you can see I'm flaring my knees out nice and wide. I'm stretching forwards. I'm just resting my head on the floor, and I'm trying to push my bum back to my heels. And I can feel that gentle stretch through my hips, which is going to be really important for this 8 position, which you'll see in a moment, where we're sort of really sitting deep into a squat. Stretching forwards with the arms now, really reaching with the fingertips, and then you can also just lift the head up now to try and get some more stretch through the shoulders and arms. So I'm trying to keep my arms straight, I'm stretching forwards with my fingers. I'm also pushing my butt back to my heels, and at the same time I'm trying to lift my head, which gives me that nice stretch through the arm. And again, you can come down and relax, and then come back up, bring that stretch in, and back down. You can do that a few times if you want to, until you feel that loosen off nice. Depends on how tight you are and what areas you're tight. Cool, okay, so we're going to work through this 8 position then. So let's look at the basics, let's look at the start, because for some people mobility is a big issue. And in fact, I'm just going to grab a quick prop. For some people, mobility is a bit of an issue, especially through the hips as we get older. We spend a lot of our time sitting at desks, which means that our hip flexors can get nice and tight, and we tend to sort of move through what's called the sagittal plane, this sort of forwards and backwards plane of movement. And what that means is our hips get quite locked into this position, especially if you do a lot of running and things like that, which is somewhere I struggled as I did a lot of running. So we want to open out these hips. So with the 8 position, what we're looking to do is we're looking to basically put our feet just wider than hip distance apart, maybe shoulder width or slightly wider. Again, it'll depend on your flexibility. And you'll probably want to turn your toes out ever so slightly, which will help your knees track outwards over your toes and stop them. Definitely, we don't want them, what's called knee valgus, which is the knees coming in. So I'm looking to set up just wider than shoulder width, and then I want to squat down as deep as I can, what's called the ass to grass position. So you can see I'm looking at getting my bum right down. And to start with, just to work on this mobility again, you can place your elbows on the inside of your knees, and then you can try to push the knees outwards, and again you'll feel that stretch, trying to stay nice and upright. Now, if that's a real struggle and you're starting to fall backwards, you can do a few little things. You can use a weight, for example, or you can use the bottom of your sofa, or you might have a pull-up, like a sit-up thing on the bottom of your door or something like that, but something that you can hold on to that's not going to fall over, that you can then use just to help increase, because what we find here is we've got tightness in the hips, but I also talked about this dorsiflexion, which is basically bringing my toes up towards my shin, and this sort of flexibility through that area and through the back of the leg is really important as well for this position. So to be able to sort of build up to actually moving in this 8 position, like I say, you can hold on to a weight. This will stop you falling backwards, and it will mean that you can just relax a little bit more. So you can see now I'm just holding on to this, for example, and now I'm not going to, if I let go, and obviously I'm not too bad at this, but if I let go and you didn't, I would fall backwards, because that's my butt, you know, as my butt goes down, my weight's going to go into my heels and I'm going to fall backwards. So you can use this just to spend a bit of time in this position and start to work on opening the hips out. So this is if you really just struggle with any of this movement, just getting low, build up to this. Again, if you've got knee issues, build up nice and slowly. We don't want any injuries. If you've got really bad issues, obviously consult a doctor. Okay, cool. So this 8 position then. So we're going to go nice and low, and we're going to sit in this 8 position to open out. Once we've got that and you feel like your hips are open, you can just let your arms relax in front. Okay, so this is the 8 position, and there's sort of this is sort of a sitting, sort of dormant position, and we can also get active by coming up onto our toes like this and pushing the knees out, which is almost like we're primed and ready to move. So if I'm here, I'm kind of locked in and I'm stationary and I'm sitting nice and low, comfortably, sort of a resting position, and I can come up onto my toes by pushing my knees out, lifting my heels a little bit, which means that we're active and we're ready to move. So that's the 2 positions for the 8 position. I've got my ape sitting nice and low with my feet flat in that kind of resting position, so ape rests really, and an active ape where we then start to come up onto our toes and we push our knees out a little bit more so we can really get this high position. Now, some people will actually train this by trying to sort of come up and down into this position to sort of work on this leg strength as well. That's something you can always do. So once we get into this active 8 position, we want to look at being able to move a little bit, okay? Now, if to move forwards, it's really straightforward. All we're going to do is we're going to just place our hands out in the mat towards, and there's going to be a tiny little leap into this, only small, but what we want to do is we want to place the heels down first, roll through the fingers as we bring the legs with us. So I'll show you an example from the front. So I'm in this 8 position, and I've got this nice low kind of stance, but you can see I'm active, I'm on my heels. I place my hands forwards and I just bring myself back into that resting 8 position, ready to spring and go again. So if I go back, I set up my resting 8, I move to my active 8, see how my hands come forward ready, and I just bring the hands forward, bring the legs up and sit back into that resting 8 position. From the side, I have my nice stance, I drop down into my resting 8. Here I am, trying to stay nice and upright. I move to my active 8, you can see my butt comes up, my heels lift, my knees go out ever so slightly, my hands go forwards, hop forwards, doesn't have to be far, sitting back into that active, that resting 8 position. So that's moving forwards. Now we might want to move sideways as well. And the way we do that is exactly the same, but this time we place the hands on the outside of the legs and then we bring our legs back into that start position. So if I show you here, I'm going to have my active 8 position, so that means my heels are up. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to place my opposite hand in front of my outside leg, so I'm moving this way, so this is my outside. So basically my left hand is gone to my right foot. I place my right hand past my body now, and all I do is I just kick my legs past and sit back down into that resting 8 position. Activate, hands go out, place them down, move myself out into that active 8 position. From the side, from the front, so you can see that was more angled. So I'm here, I'm in my resting 8, hands go out, across, drop myself back down, hands go out, across, drop myself back down. Okay guys, so that is your 8th position. So far we have worked from our 4-point position, which is on our all fours. We've done our bridge position. If you've not seen these, you can go back through our videos. And now we're looking at our 8 position, which is our resting 8 and our active 8, ready to go, hands out, ready to move. Okay, fantastic. Have a practice of that. This one will take a bit of time if you haven't got much flexibility through the hips, but be patient. I promise you it is well worth it. And in terms of hip flexibility, less tension through your lower back, less chance of injury and all the rest of it. Especially if you do a lot of jiu-jitsu, you want this flexibility and strength through your hips. It's a massive thing that can sort of, really affect your movement. So have a good crack, enjoy it, and I'll see you soon.